Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Radio Cayman to talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers. Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks again for sharing your lunch with us as you are joining us. Hopefully, you'll be reminded that many great things happen in our society, and as we turn our attention to the good company of Ms. Brenda Archer and we talk about the Brain Tumor Foundation, I want to quickly just remind our listeners to always be supportive of the arts and science and realize, as Mr. Ebanks shared earlier, perhaps there isn't necessarily any significant distinction, and there is a wonderful exhibition over at the National Gallery, Luminescent Forms Art Under the Microscope, as we invite you to very much take some time and visit. You'll find that your first visit may lead to a second, to a third, and to a fourth, just for this specific exhibition. It is indeed quite remarkable. But when we speak of remarkable, I think quickly our minds and eyes and attention turn to the wonderful spirit of Miss Brenda Archer. I must share, as I saw you walking this morning and spend your time with Mr. O.C., I felt almost, a bit, wait a minute now. She gets to be in his company earlier than mine. I didn't want to say that word, but yeah, But then again, I say, well, perhaps you have to go to the aged before you come to the youthful. Mr. O.C.?
Age to perfection.
That's it. It's a pleasure, Mom. It's a pleasure to welcome you again to the studio and bring on Dr. Constantinos Marguedes. Welcome, sir. Good to meet you.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here with you.
All right. As we look at the notion and see your constant champion of the exercise to educate, inform, and involve the public when it comes to awareness, and the establishment of the Brain Tumor Foundation, I think, has gone a long way in a very short time to start to bring needed discussion and to understand from what you've shared with us a few times on air that whether it's diagnosis is benign or not, it still has a significant impact on the individual, on the family, on the colleagues, and on the community. So, Ms. Brenda, thank you for your tireless efforts.
Thank you, Dwayne. And I'll tell you something that you'll have over Mr. O.C., as you put it, is that I'm a lot more comfortable in the studio without the camera.
Me too. That's why there's no camera here, okay?
I know. So this morning, I don't think I did very well. I'm more relaxed just talking to myself, actually. So that's good therapy in case anybody didn't know it.
See, I talk to myself too, but I don't get concerned when I answer back.
Well, arguing is more concerning. But I just want to say thank you very much for having us, and thank you for having Dr. Marguedes. It would be his first time in your studio. And to those who are listening and they don't know Dr. Marguedes is a resident neurosurgeon at Trinity Medical. And as I said earlier this morning, Trinity Medical has come on board as our second sponsor. So this is wonderful news, not just for the foundation, but for the island, in that we have a resident neurosurgeon working along with us and a facility to assist us. So, Dr. Marguedes, thank you. And I'm sure Dwayne wants to pick your brain. He knows what mine is, so he probably wants to get into yours now. So
hers is intricate. The mind of a woman is remarkable, but hers is even more exceptional. So I'm still picking the bits and pieces.
You know what I learned, Dwayne? When they remove a little bit, there's a lot more that grows back somewhere else. So careful.
We see you have a lot to remove, so you don't miss much. Right?
That's what I figured too. But if I say that, sound conceited, right?
There you go. No, but this is where I think sometimes we have life sort of throw us a curveball at times, and then we are able to see how good we are at swinging the bat. Dr. Marguedes, if I could ask of you, when perhaps initial two things. When we speak of brain tumors initially, immediately most of us would get petrified. Probably other words that we could use that even more horrific connotations with. And secondly, understanding that, perhaps looking at the response, but what is the incidence, not just globally, but perhaps locally thus far of yours, but brain tumors, are they as, I don't want to use lethal, but petrifying, as it were, once we get that diagnosis or that concern that potentially, what your symptoms you're experiencing could in fact be such?
There are many types of brain tumors. Actually, there are over 120 different types of brain tumors, of primary brain tumors that they develop inside the brain. And we also have the metastatic brain tumors that they start somewhere else in the body, and some of the tumor cells, they migrate inside the brain, and there is a new tumor growth inside the brain. The diagnosis is different. The outcome and it depends on the diagnosis, and the outcome varies. We have benign brain tumors where a patient can have a surgery, have the tumor resected, and then forget about it and live a normal life for the rest of his life. But we also have some very malignant brain tumors and some metastatic brain tumors where, unfortunately, the outcome is even nowadays is not very good. There is a very poor prognosis.
Now, when we look at brain tumors, I understand that you shared the quantity as it is the different types. Are there particular things that could lead to brain tumors, head injury and trauma and like? But are there other things that could potentially result in a brain tumor?
The only predisposing factor is radiation. So people who have been exposed in the past in large amounts of radiation, they have an increased risk for developing brain tumors. Apart from that, we have not found any other factor that can lead to brain tumors.
Now, are there early warning signs, perhaps that could be indicative of brain tumors?
The most common sign is the most common symptom that leads the patients to seek medical advice and that leads to the diagnosis of brain tumor is headaches. But these headaches are not like the headaches that all of us have. They are more severe. They're stronger during the night. Sometimes they wake up the patient during the night, and they're also stronger when the patient wakes up in the morning. These are some some signs that the headache might not be a benign headache, and people should seek medical advice and probably should get an imaging study of the brain just to rule out something more serious.
And then when we look at children say versus adults, are there differences with respect to brain tumors? Are there considerations that we take into hand when we think of treating a child versus an adult?
The children have some different tumor types, and there are some differences in how to treat the brain tumors in adults and in children. Also, a very common presenting sign of brain tumors in children is hydrocephalus in the very young children. The head grows in size out of proportion to the body. And usually, this gets noticed by the parents very early on, and they come to seek medical advice, and the brain tumor is diagnosed.
Look at lymphoma and leukemia, for instance, but then I guess maybe understand malignancy can be an issue. Ms. Brenda, when we talk about brain tumors and the work of the foundation, if there were two things specifically you'd want the public to be able to maybe take note of, especially as we go through the educational campaign, what are some of the things that you want us to understand and pay attention to as part of the educational awareness of the Brain Tumor Foundation?
I would say, Dwayne, make an effort to learn, as you say, through the education, understand, become more familiar with it. I know that if something is not, as we say, in your lap, you tend not to pay attention to it. But the thing about brain tumors, as with many other illnesses, we never know when it will land in our laps. This is a new foundation. We're just 1 year old. I do realize we're not getting a lot of recognition, despite this being our month. And I will personally say I'm saddened by that. I hope that's not going to be the trend. But but I did feel good. I was out just now and I saw a few people wearing orange, and they said, look, see, wearing your color. So that made me feel really good. But anyway, I would say try to educate yourself, if not just educate yourself, educate your colleagues, try to educate society on a whole. I say society as in our community and as an island, as to what a brain tumor is and whether before or after, what the effects are. Learn to recognize it Sometimes you might even save a life because the patient might not realize it, but you may realize something is very wrong and you can offer advice. That's the before. And then the after is, the support, that nourishment of emotion that the patient is going to need, and counseling, therapy. It's a very traumatic experience, and some cases are more extreme than others, but naturally, in all cases, there's psychological damage, and that needs to be restored. And that part, Dr. McGettis can speak to a lot more. I'm speaking as a survivor and as a patient and as an advocate of the foundation.
Yeah, I would like to emphasize the important role that patient support foundations play in promoting the well-being of the patients. They offer psychological support, and they offer help with the many practical issues that these patients face. In regards to the psychological support, I would like to note that the patients are very much interested in getting advice from people who have undergone through a similar situation. The advice from these people counts much more to the patients compared with an advice from a lay person or somebody who has no idea about what they're going through. And this exchange of experience between patients who have been recently diagnosed with brain tumor and patients who have been diagnosed and who have been treated for a brain tumor in the past, this exchange of experience creates hope to the patients and builds a very strong will to them to overcome all the hardships that this disease brings into their lives.
As I listen, recognizing that sometimes people may look at different incidences of illness and the like and think, well, is it inherited? Perhaps we can help people understand that it is quite rare if family history to be an indicator of brain tumors.
That's right. There are very few rare cases of brain tumors that they are associated with some kind of genetic, predisposition, which are, as people say, inherited or run in the family. There are very, very few cases of brain tumors.
Indeed. We're going to pause and take a quick little break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion as we focus on the Brain Tumor Foundation. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Here's a super smart offer from Lime. Upgrade or sign up for super fast broadband and choose from a free Google Chromecast and Netflix for 6 months or an Alcatel 3G tablet with 1 gig of data for just $49. Yep, get Lime super fast broadband and get all the speed you need with plenty left over for all the household. Super fast broadband from Lime across all of the islands all of the time. See lime.com/broadband or visit any Lime store for details while stocks last. Lime terms and conditions apply.
Football, basketball, cricket, rugby, flag, athletics, netball, golf, tennis, swimming, sailing, and all the latest sports updates can be heard during the 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. sports reports. Brought to you by Overtime Restaurant and Sports Lounge off West Bay Road in the Strand. Serving breakfast from 9 a.m. and closing midnight or later for late night dining or takeout. Place your order by calling Overtime at 640-6622.
My darling, I'm waiting for you. How long is the day in the dark? Or a week?
It's like another love TKO.
Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and Radio Cayman wants to help your business get your message out to your valued customers and friends about the products and services that are available for this special day. Call and ask about our Valentine's ad special with competitive rates to help you save money. Our account executives will be happy to help you with a plan to suit your needs.
There's no me without you.
Call 949-7799 or email rcsales@gov.ky.
I will love you my whole life, you and no other.
Love is in the air.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Radio Cayman to Talk Today.
Because there are more questions than answers. Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-6990 as we are enjoying a wonderful company with Brenda Archer and Dr. Miguel as we talk about the Brain Tumor Foundation. And I think any time we can offer an opportunity to not just educate, inform people, but to involve them and to take, an opportunity to encourage them to be more willing to take ownership, of their health. I think it's important. We are, as we say, what we eat, and we talk about the body being a temple, but many of us don't necessarily actively sit and consciously say, listen, let's try to be healthy in what we eat and our exercise. And I say that to kind of chastise myself and remind me that I love a lot of things, but maybe not as often as I should. Miss Brenda, given that this month is, the Brain Tumor Awareness, and the foundation is actively engaged in trying to ensure that we have a very healthy education campaign, take us down the path so that we understand what is it that you wish to parlay to the public.
If I could touch on something that you just said, talking about eating.
You are lunch for me?
This is quite funny that, and I mean, I've been told this by other patients as well. Brain tumors give you strange appetites. And when I had a brain tumor, before it was even confirmed, I love chocolate naturally, but I had an increased appetite for chocolate. So I laugh about it now. I probably laughed about it then, because I used to compare myself to an addict. I would get up at any hour. Whenever I was awake, I had to have chocolate. And then I'd go to the fridge, I'd take a little piece, and I'd say, okay. And then it wasn't enough. And then I find myself eating a big block of chocolate, and I'd stand by the fridge, and then that's when I'd smile, and I'd say, is this what an addict is like?
So you're telling me that I should probably make an appointment with Dr. Miguel to check it?
No, I'm just saying it was just so funny that you brought that up. No. And then, of course, there were other things. I only say that simply because you were speaking about symptoms.
Yes.
There was a taste that I had in my mouth for quite some time that I'd never had before. It wasn't unpleasant. It was a nice taste, and actually, it kind of tasted like after you had eaten a candy, and you hadn't rinsed out the sweetness, but it was that sweet almond taste.
Yeah.
And then I used to smell things like smokes or sort of acidy things, and then I heard other people speak of that, and I know one patient in particular. Unfortunately, he lost his battle, but he spoke about the sweet almond taste as well. So I said, well, there must be something to it.
But this is where I think, and Doc, I certainly don't want to speak from an ill-informed perspective now to cause people. So I say to you publicly and respectfully, if I say something that isn't right, correct it from the science perspective. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking that foundations and organizations and networking opportunities get to give like-minded people. Ms. Brenda used the word survivor, can come together and they say, listen, when I was diagnosed, I noticed this, and this. Prior to diagnosis, it may be the sweet taste, the smell, these things, the certain behaviors and feelings. As they compare their notes, perhaps they can help. And that sense of empathy to the newly diagnosed patient, they not only can be sympathetic, but they can be empathetic. I've been there, done that. This is what experience I had. Not necessarily you may have this, but if you do, don't be alarmed. Here's somebody who knows, where you're going, because I've been there. That, I think, gives that patient a chance to maybe feel a little bit more at ease, if that is even possible.
Yeah, and apart, from these symptoms that Ms. Archer mentioned, and they're benign. These people also have some problems. They have some neurological deficits, and the exchange experience on how they overcame these deficits that they had. The people might have weaknesses, might have vision problems. They might have all sorts of neurological problems, and it's important to exchange experience on how they overcame that.
So, Ms. Brenda, I think this is where of all the other things that the foundation does, by bringing together individuals who have traversed our road, they can have a sense of comfort and connectedness because they understand each other's language, as it were.
Yes, Dwayne, I don't think he could have said it better. We speak the same language, and as Dr. Miguel said, we can find comfort in each other. That's why I always encourage and advocate that, get counseling, get therapy. And if you're not comfortable yet with doing that, then speak to another person who has had that experience. it has been very, very good for me. In the beginning, I had to do it with my doctors because I didn't know that, many people who had gone through it. But always having to go back overseas, to do my follow-ups and stuff, I kept running into other patients. And I will say to you, Dwayne, that's probably one of the main reasons that I knew I needed to do something, because I suffered a long time from something called survivor's guilt. I couldn't understand what was happening to me, and that's where the emotions now are out of whack. I'm crying. I feel guilty because I survived, and this person is blind, and this person has lost their eye, and I'm guilty because I survived, and I'm walking. I'm functional. I'm perfect as far as I'm concerned. So I felt very guilty about that, and I know I shouldn't have. So I had to get, advice, I guess therapy, to teach me that I didn't do anything wrong, and I would come to terms with that. And I'm going to borrow the words of Professor Crandon. He said, God used you as a messenger. You witnessed what you witnessed so that you could say to someone else who could help those people. So consider that that part of your job is done.
I would like to bring an example of how these patient support communities can, help the patients. I'll bring the example of a patient that I had before coming here in the Cayman. He was a 19-year-old boy who had lost his vision due to a brain tumor. And he felt, very bad about that. And, he couldn't find any kind of support from psychologists, psychiatrists, and he was in a very difficult situation. And I saw him a few months later, and he had met a girl with a similar problem through a patient support foundation. And they had been engaged, and they were planning to get married. And they were both of them really happy. I think that something like that cannot be offered by anybody else apart from a patient support community.
Yeah, I think that's it, Ms. Brenda. We get it, and more it has to be that we understand the significance, and through education efforts like this, it becomes perhaps easier to carry that burden because there are others who are willing to lift the load.
Yes, and as Dr. Miguel just said, he is the doctor and I am the patient. So I just want to endorse what he said, perhaps in a Caymanian way, that two souls alike, or two souls colliding. So that's a wonderful example of, people helping each other, people with the same experiences helping each other. You did ask about the foundation, what we're doing, what we start, what our aims and goals are. Like in the very beginning, we're here for support. We're here to educate, and now with the addition of Trinke as a sponsor, that's a major step forward to our ultimate goal, because you will remember that we said the ultimate goal would be to have a neuroscience department here on the island so that patients can receive treatment from the beginning right up to the end. You don't have to go away and be away from family, loved ones, and so on. That can be done right here. One of the best sources of healing is love and comfort. And one of the biggest obstacles in healing is loneliness and depression. And I can attest to that as well, because I've had major surgeries that required me to stay, not just my brain surgery, I had a major one before that required me to stay overseas for quite some time. And in the first one, my depression was so bad, the doctor had to send me home prematurely because the depression was worse, I suppose, worse than the condition. So that's just an example. With the brain tumor, my mind, soul, heart, everything was in a different place. So I dealt with that a lot better. And but at the same time, I was still away from home for 3.5 months. And I neglected to say this morning that there are two people that stand out in my life during that time. And one is my baby brother, Marco.
Her baby brother.
I love this man, And I want to say this. My mother's the most fortunate woman in the world to have him as a son. I'm the most fortunate woman in the world to have him as a brother. And if Mrs. Archer the second is listening, she's the most fortunate woman in the world to have him as a husband. He's a wonderful person. Yes. He was there for me. He supported me throughout. And the night before I left Cayman to go and do my surgery, when he hugged me and held on to me, I knew I could feel our hearts beating as one, and the unspoken words were there. He was telling me how much he loved me, and I do believe, honestly, that he thought he was going to lose me. So while it was unspoken, I comforted him by saying to him, you all are not getting rid of me that easily. I am coming back. So when the surgery was all over and I could talk, I couldn't see for a while, but I could talk and I could hear. And but I was talking immediately, Dwayne. You know, it would take a lot to shut me up. But anyway, you know, so being the economist that he is, he called more often in the beginning. And I think once he was comfortable that I was okay, then it was once a week. And I won't tell you how long it was, but there was a time on it as well. But you know what? That was wonderful, because even though it was long distance, that was love that I needed to heal. And then the other person who was very, very instrumental in so many ways, and I won't go into all the details because I don't know how he would feel, but that person is the former Minister of Health. And I'll just give you a small example of one of the things. The day that I went back to the hospital, well, I'm not getting ahead of myself. I was at the hospital one day, and when I got called in, you know, as soon as I got called in, my phone rang. This is overseas now. And so I looked at it and I said, wow, getting a call from the government. And when I answered it, because I just, like I said, gotten called and I was on the bed and stuff, and it was Mr. Eden, who was the then Minister of Health. And he said, hi, Brenda. He said, forgive me. He said, I really meant to have called you sooner. Mind you, had called me a couple of times already. And he said, how are you? I said, I'm good. And he said, you're always so positive. He said, Brenda, where are you now? And I said, I'm at the hospital. So he said, well, what's wrong? What happened? I said, oh, no, it's okay. I said, I'm getting my staples out. And he said, so who's there with you? I said, I'm alone. He said, you're alone? You're not afraid? I said, no. He said, well, you're not alone anymore. He said, I'm staying on the phone with you. So he stayed on the phone with me while they removed my staples. And it was very painful. And he said, he was talking to me, and he said, Brenda, it doesn't hurt. And I said, of course it hurts. I said, some more hurt than others. The doctor said, it hurts. I said, what did you think? And of course, my only order of the day was to count them. Yeah, I needed to count them. Why? Don't ask me. I needed to count them. But that's just, like I said, that's a small example of having that kind of support. Imagine now being at home and having that kind of support. A person is being there. They can hold your hand. They can touch you. You know, the healing process would be even quicker. So that's our ultimate goal. But to get there, we need to do several things. The public needs to help us. You know, the private sector needs to help us. And as I said on the show earlier, we don't get a government grant, despite what people think. So we need help in trying to get where we would like to go. We are here to support the patients, to give them advice or direct them to the doctors for the right advice. We're here to answer their questions. We're not doctors, but we can answer questions, and we will direct them to the medical personnel to give them the right answers, if you know the things that we recognize. If you would allow me, Dwayne, there are a couple of important things I want to say. Most importantly, though, this was last year, so anyone who may have read the Caymanian Compass, the 20th of February 2014, where they did an article just after the foundation had been launched. I was misquoted and printed in that article as when I said that early detection and intervention was of paramount importance. They said they printed early detection and prevention. A word can change everything. It could probably cause a war. So just for clarification, the word should have been intervention, as there is no prevention, unfortunately, to brain tumors. So I just needed to correct that because I got misquoted. And the other thing I would like to say is I want to apologize that we, the foundation, didn't get a chance to do our seminar this month. And that was mostly because we didn't have the resources. But this is our month of awareness and observance. And we're doing 2 small fundraisers. One is a bake sale on Ash Wednesday. So we'd ask anyone who's out there to come and find us and support us. This is the month. Orange is the color. So we'd ask anyone, just wear something orange and show your support. They're going to be, I know that Cayman National, who's our other sponsor, there's going to be an ad in the Caymanian Compass, and I don't know which other newspapers. They're asking for an island-wide orange dress down day. So I'll just ask everyone, to do that as well. I suppose not everybody would be dressed down on the same day, but once it's within the month of February, as a show of support. And the next event is on the 28th of February, which would obviously wind down everything. We're going to have a 5K walk. And it's funny enough, I just ran into the deputy commissioner. So I pulled his ear and I told him I need that approval. So he said, I'm going back to do it right now. I said, okay. Anyway, because I always have to say pending approval, for the route that we want to use and so on, we will have the 5K walk, and our plan is to start at Hero Square or somewhere in that vicinity, going south and looping around and coming back. But the route and everything will be attached to the registration form. And the registration forms can be obtained at Trinque Medical, Arabus, Island Photo, Walkers Road, Texaco, Credit Union, Beacon Furniture, Cineco, and Tortuga Rum locations, and on our website, which is www.btfcaymaniislands.com. Failing that, they can call 916-1811 and just ask where they can get one, or they can send an email, which is to btfcaymaniislands@gmail.com.
I think, as you shared, the whole notion that we're looking at brain tumors and bringing awareness to the cause and maybe getting people to increasingly pay attention. Dr. Marguerite, if I go back to our discussion earlier. So, Ms. Brenda, there were some other things?
You have to forgive me because I was on this morning, so I'm kind of...
You go right ahead, Mom.
Okay. I have 2 proud moments, actually, today to share. And one is... and I don't think we've seen each other since this was issued, but we were recognized and published by the International Brain Tumor Alliance. And while we don't get financial support from them, we have access to all the different kinds of specialists that deal with brain tumors. As Dr. Miguel said earlier, there are like 120 different kinds. So, and of course we get published, and it's not just good for the foundation, but it's good publicity for the island. And the other bit of news, which kind of comes on the heel of that, is that Brain Tumor Foundation Cayman Islands, the Forgotten, is the first in the Caribbean. So, again, that's good to know. And I will say that Professor Crandon will be here later this month. I know that you will have him on your show, Dwayne. Yes, and I'm really hoping that he'd be allowed, enough time to speak and perhaps even have some patients interact with him. He was, I think you were at the launch.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do believe that he is a captivating speaker. And I don't say that because of any bias, but simply because I think that's the case. Then, again, I would like to thank Cayman National Bank, who were our first sponsors. They have been very supportive, and, I don't think one could ask for better sponsors. So, and they have assisted us in every way possible. And then, of course, there was Trinke, who was always assisting us and always wanting to assist us. So, being Brenda, I said, let's talk. So, I said, why don't you sponsor us then and make it official? And the director, Dr. Howard Diosaran, he hasn't got a chance trying to bargain with me, right? So he said,
he does not.
Yeah, he didn't know, but he knows now. So, anyways, they agreed to. They were happy to sponsor us, and as I said, that is very important because they have a resident neurosurgeon. We encourage all the patients doing. We don't know who all of them are, so if there's anyone out there who has not yet made contact with us, I am pleading with you. Please give us a call. We'd love to know who you are. We want to know how you're doing. If you need any kind of assistance, let us know. While we might not be able to take care of all of it, we certainly try our best to help you with some of it. And so I'll repeat the phone number, or if Dwayne like to do that part, I'll leave that to him, the email address or the website.
Indeed. Well, we'll pause and take a quick little break. When we come back, we'll conclude the discussion with Ms. Brenda Archer and Dr. Geddes as we talk about the Brain Tumor Foundation. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
All are invited to attend the 78th Annual Convention of the Church of God, Full Gospel Hall, Georgetown, from February 1st through to the 8th. Daily prayer meetings at 6:30 a.m., preaching and praise at 10:30 a.m., and evangelistic services nightly at 7:15 p.m. Sundays begin with Sunday school at 9:45.
Bordentown, it's happening again this Saturday. Early morning deals in your neck of the woods. New bed in a bag comforters, $45. Full Queen and California King sheet sets. Special selection of curtains, $15 per pair. 52-inch ceiling fans with light kits, $65. Select lighting, fixtures, household products like pressure cookers. And 100% cotton t-shirts, just $3. Shop and save from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. this Saturday beside the Bordentown Church of God Chapel. If you miss it, go to International Lighting in Georgetown Friday and Monday for the same great deals. Plus visit the Bathroom Palace for the widest selection of Italian cabinets at unbeatable prices. Call 949-5141, 949-5141.
It's flu season again. Did you get your flu shot?
Not that I'm a fan of needles, but what's all this talk about flu shots anyway?
Getting a flu shot is the best way to avoid getting sick during the flu season.
Really? Wow, when can I go and get mine?
The best time is now. The flu season has already begun.
Flu shots are available at the General Practice Clinic, Cayman Islands Hospital, Faith Hospital in Cayman Brac, Little Cayman Clinic, and all district health centers from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday until supplies last. It is free, but hurry, they are in limited supply. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department, Health Services Authority, Cayman Islands.
All are invited to attend the 78th Annual Convention of the Church of God, Full Gospel Hall, Georgetown, from February 1st through to the 8th. Daily prayer meetings at 6:30 a.m., preaching and praise at 10:30 a.m., and evangelistic services nightly at 7:15 p.m. Sundays begin with Sunday school at 9:45 a.m., followed by morning worship at 10:45 a.m., a children's meeting at 3 p.m., and evangelistic services at 7:15. Come and enjoy a warm Christian fellowship, praying, praising, and singing with church family at the 78th Annual Convention of the Church of God, Full Gospel Hall, Georgetown, on the waterfront from the 1st to the 8th of February. Free meals served daily, and transportation is available by calling 949-9237.
Hello everyone, this is Sterling Dwayne Banks. Our special show, See What I Say, will be heard this month on the 27th from 1 to 2:30 p.m.
Give me a little water now. You can't hear a coughing? Oh, merciful. Which one of you is going gallivanting this time?
Miss P, no, you know that gotta be me. Ray got here break the last time. Now it's my turn.
No. Miss P, you don't need no water. See, I got a little leaf for life tea here for you. Happy with that cough?
No wonder I found leaves missing from the tree in my backyard. Pick us up. If you come to my yard again, I'm going to have you arrested. Thou shalt not steal Miss P leaf of life.
All right, hold on. Make sure you don't miss to see what I'm saying on Friday the 27th. It's a unique, informative audience participation lighthearted show with lots of Cayman jokes and culture and guests as we talk about things we say and do. Our next topic will be bush medicines and old-time remedies.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Radio Cayman to talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers. Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-6990 as we focus our attention on the Brain Tumor Foundation with the wonderful company of the President and Head of Public Relations, Ms. Brenda Archin, together with Dr. Marguerite, one of the neurosurgeons over at Trinity. Dr. Marguerite, as we look at brain tumors, and perhaps some of us would understand with other suspected ailments what the process may be when we visit our physician. But if you could help us, if a person has suspected symptoms of a brain tumor, they go for their exam. Obviously, they'll be talking to their doctor with respect to certain things that they would normally, medical history, family, health history, and the like. But what are some of the potential tests or other methods of diagnosis that the patient may undergo with respect to brain tumors?
Thank you for this question. So the physician that is going to examine them, he's going to do a neurological examination to see if there is any neurological deficit, if there's any kind of neurological dysfunction. Deficit is like the medical term that we use, but we're looking for any kind of neurological dysfunction. And the next step is to do an imaging study of the brain. The most common imaging study is the brain CT scan, the computed tomography scan. That provides, it's a very fast exam. We can get it very easily done, and usually this is the first exam that is being done. But in almost all of the cases, we would also like to get some additional information from an MRI scan of the brain. The MRI scan is a more detailed examination of the brain. It provides us with more information, but it takes a little bit longer to be done, and we usually get both of these exams.
Now, with the MRI, it can be with contrast or other. Would it normally be with contrast?
Yes, it will be with contrast. Both the CT scan and the MRI will do them with contrast. If we have any suspicion for brain tumor, we'll administer intravenously the contrast, and actually the contrast makes the tumors appear brighter on the images.
All right, so that's just a way for us to identify it much more easily?
That's right.
Okay. And then when you're doing the neurological exam that you mentioned, you're looking at alertness. Are you checking the hearing, eye, vision?
Yeah, so you start by checking the level of alertness of the patient, and then you start examining the cranial nerves, the vision, the movements of the eyes. That's a very important piece of the examination. The hearing, the movements of the facial muscles, the sensation in the face. And then we go on with the examination of the strength in the body, the sensation in the body, and some more specialized exams.
So looking at reflexes and coordination and the like.
That's right.
And then some of the potential tests that they may do besides the MRI and the CT scan. Do we get into, spinal taps, for instance? Or
we rarely do spinal taps, but what is sometimes indicated is to do imaging studies in other parts of the body to look for additional tumors. For example, if we suspect that the tumor that we're seeing is a metastasis, we almost always do CT scans of the chest and abdomen to see if there is a primary tumor located in the chest. And actually, the lung is one of the most common causes of brain metastasis. So we're always looking at the lungs to see if there are any additional lesions over there.
So potentially, because it may be in the brain, you're not confined to the area. It could be elsewhere that is the primary source.
That's right.
See,
that's where the knowledge of primary and secondary brain tumors come in. As Dr. Miguel said, a primary brain tumor is one that forms in the brain and basically stays there, whether it's malignant or benign. A secondary brain tumor, as he said. And Dr. McGettis, I'm just saying this so that those who only speak Caymanian understand. In other words, if it's a secondary, if they find a malignant tumor in the brain, they look elsewhere for the source, or if there is another source. If there is another source, then that's a secondary brain tumor. And the reason I bring that out is because the foundation covers primary brain tumors. So if a person had lung cancer or any other kind of cancer and then it spread to the brain, that's not a brain tumor because that was not the primary source. Okay. So that's important to understand where the differences are.
No, perhaps if I may, perhaps expand on Ms. Brenda's comments, given what she shared. If there is another tumor elsewhere in the lungs, as you mentioned, for instance, how do we determine which one was there first? That it was in the lungs went to the brain, or brain went to the lungs?
It's almost always the lungs that went to the brain.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. Because the brain tumors the malignant brain tumors, they grow rapidly, and they rapidly, if they are so malignant, they rapidly lead to death. So there is no time, for metastasis all over the body, as the case with a lung tumor.
Okay. Just for clarity and understanding from reading that, but that's why you were asking.
And they're very good questions, Dwayne. They're the kind of questions people need to ask. That's part of the education, as little as you may think of it. So understanding it a whole lot better.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, as you clarified, the primary and secondary, people understand that if you have it, that's why the emphasis is on brain, where
that's
the tumor
right.
initially
or the tumor,
in the brain. That's where
whether benign or malignant.
All right. Now, when we look at the treatment, so we have the diagnosis, we have the ways, the different tests to identify. What determines the course of treatment if there is a brain tumor?
So most of the times surgery needs to be done. It needs to be done for basically two purposes. One is to alleviate the pressure that the tumor applies to the brain. Because that pressure causes neurological deficits, it causes seizures, and it causes many symptoms to the patient. So we need to debulk the tumor. We need to remove most of it, and that will provide symptomatic relief to the patient. Also, by doing the surgery, we're able to take tissue for biopsy. We're able to look at the tissue under the microscope and see which type of brain tumor are we dealing with. And this will determine the next treatment steps. Most of the times there is a need for chemotherapy. By chemotherapy, we mean either pills or IV medications, IV drugs that they treat the tumor. And the patients also very frequently need radiation therapy, where we apply some radiation to the brain, and the radiation kills all the rapidly dividing cells of the tumor. So these are the most common. These are the two commonest therapies that we use.
Now, with that, again, just thinking out loud in respect to the treatments, would the specific characteristics of the individual, and not just the type and grade of the tumor, but also where it's located, the size, the mass, and also the specific characteristics of the patient, be a factor in treatment options?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we take into consideration many different factors when we determine what is the best course of action for a particular patient.
I think this is where perhaps paying an active attention to our health, that ownership that you talk about, Ms. Brenda, where people, go get their doctors, don't ignore any symptoms, just don't leave it until it's too late, as it were. And some of us tend to ignore little warning signs.
Yeah, and I believe I'm guilty of that in some instances.
As you shared with me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because I was just telling this to someone a few minutes ago, that before I came back here, that my eye doctor was pointing me in the direction that I should have gone, like maybe a year prior. But because I didn't understand, it wasn't direct. In other words, she wasn't qualified to say, I can see that you have a brain tumor, because my eye was giving me problems. I thought it was an eye problem. So I went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor said, there's no problem with your eye. You know, they did all the tests. They took the pictures back in the back of the eye, everything. I was fine. No damage to the eye. So, okay, it wasn't an eye problem. But she kept saying, you need to go back to your GP. Tell your GP what's happening. Tell your GP how you're feeling. And your GP will send you for further testing. See, so I'm guilty of that. It wasn't an eye problem. That's what I went for. So I didn't have an eye problem. So I'm saying, well, why do I need to go to another doctor? What other tests do I need? You see? So
sometimes it's just the language and
yeah, well, it wasn't really that, you know. It's probably who I am by nature. I try to figure things out for myself, and if I can't, then that's when I seek. Yeah, and I mean, that's not just medically, that's probably who I am by nature. And what is very funny, Dwayne, that you'd say that, is that I kept getting misdiagnosed with my brain tumor. I was misdiagnosed every time. I was the one who figured out that I had a brain tumor. And how did I do that? By a process of elimination, that it wasn't this, it wasn't this, it wasn't this, it has to be this. And then I started to think, and I started to remember a friend of mine that we'd lost to a brain tumor and the symptoms that he started with. And then I said, that's what I have. So it went from there.
But again, as you said, that early ownership and responsibilities the patients have to take. It's the best physicians and equipment don't always help if the patient isn't cooperative or willing to take the ownership. And we dismiss things. You know?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like I was being a pain.
No,
you know? I'm just saying, I'm saying this for the benefit of anyone who is listening. It was simply just because I lacked the knowledge of what the other symptoms of a brain tumor would be. I only knew about headaches. I didn't know all of these other things that came with it or that could come with it. Had I had an inkling of maybe two of those other things, believe me, I'd have gone back and seen my GP.
But this is where the educational awareness and everything comes back to. As a patient, you're saying, listen, this is what I had. My eye, was bothering me. I thought I had, something, needed new glasses or contacts change, whatever it is that we justify. We're just not satisfied, and we don't want to be, as you said, a pain. So we dismiss things. Thank God, you're still here to encourage others and to share the story and to be an inspiration, but also to commend us to take ownership. And I think that's important. Now, going forward for the month, as you continue the awareness campaign, and we look as February as the Brain Tumor Awareness Month, you are, mentioning you have the bake sale, you have a walk coming up, and people can be a part of, their support by wearing their orange to show their support. So,
but also to register and participate. And even if they don't want to actually do the walk, they can just come out and be a bystander, cheer somebody on, or offer to help us, as a volunteer. So if all goes according to plan, we will have a final registration on the evening of the 27th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So, anyone who hasn't registered yet but still want to do it, that would be their last chance. And then, of course, the next morning, it would start at 7 a.m. Hopefully, everybody would have been finished around 9. Of course, we're not pressuring anybody to finish at a certain time, but, just as an idea. And then,
time,
and then it finishes exactly where it starts. Then, it winds down with, little refreshments and I suppose chit-chat and things like that.
Social to be able to compare those. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I certainly commend you for it, Ms. Brenda.
And thank you. And Professor Crandon will be there. He doesn't know yet, but he's going to be doing a walk. I have him assigned to do this walk. But anyway, he's going to be out there. And so that, again, will give people a good opportunity to speak with him, those who wanted to back in February and didn't get a chance to. And, of course, it'd be a wonderful opportunity for him to meet with Dr. Margettis and the medical team at Trinity Medical. And I suppose any of the other medical personnel who are here on island that would like to meet him. or even patients who would just like to talk to him, because I know that was a demand the last time he was here, but the time just did not permit
Indeed.
that.
Well, we certainly look forward to having you come back with Professor Grandel as we talk more about it. Thanks very, very much indeed, Ms. Brenda.
And just as a word of inspiration, being that I'm going to leave with you and all the listeners, I say my scars only show where I've been. They don't dictate where I'm going.
My scars don't show where I've been. They don't dictate where I'm going. Huh?
They don't dictate where I'm going.
I like
okay?
that. Dr. Margulis, any final words? Thank you, sir, for your time as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. We'll pause and take.
Let us not forget that today is Jamaica's favorite son, Bob Marley, Nestor Robert Marley, as his mother named him. Today is his birthday. He would have been 69 years old today, I believe, had he been alive. And I must tell you, and I say this only to say, I love Bob Marley as the man, the handsome man that he was. I still see him at that age. I had a crush on him that I never got over. And I especially love his music. And I find music very, very therapeutic. And that's one of the things I also say to people, choose the music that you like. It can be very, very soothing, as good as a conversation. And with that being said, I love one of my favorite songs by him, apart from No Woman No Cry. I like Trench Down Rock. It's also known as one good thing about music is when it hits, you feel no pain. That's a wonderful song. It's a powerful song.
Well, I certainly believe strongly that music can indeed inspire.
Music is healing.
And it can heal. It is therapeutic. And I think if we can embrace it in a way that causes us to move forward, so good.
Of
but
course.
Thank you again, Ms. Brennan, Dr. Margulis. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll pause and take a break. After the news, more Talk Today.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, these are the biggest stories right now.
With your latest headlines, I'm Karsley Fuller, live from Radio Cayman's newsroom. It's your last chance to weigh in on minimum wage. The advisory committee is hosting a final round of consultations around the island, with the first in Cayman Brac tomorrow at the Layman E. Scott Senior High School Hall at 4 p.m. For a complete listing of the upcoming meetings, make sure to check out our website, radiocayman.gov.ky. In international news, 61 bodies have been found at a crematorium of an abandoned funeral home near Acapulco in Mexico after neighbors complained to authorities about a foul smell coming from the building. The bodies were discovered Thursday evening in Guerrero State, which has been shaken by drug-related violence, including the notorious disappearance of 43 college students who allegedly were rounded up by corrupt police and handed over to a drug gang back in September. There were no immediate signs that the bodies found at the funeral home were connected to the case of the missing students. A statement purported to be from the Islamic State group claims that a Jordanian airstrike has killed an American hostage. The statement posted on a militant website identifies the hostage as Kayla Jean Mueller and says she was in a building that was hit as Jordan blasted the militant group's stronghold in northern Syria. A photo of a severely damaged building was posted along with the statement. American officials say they are looking into the report. And an Egyptian lawyer who pleaded guilty to conspiring to kill Americans in the 1998 U.S. embassy bombings in Africa has been sentenced in New York today to the maximum 25 years in prison. The judge says Adel Abdul Bari benefited from a, quote, enormously generous plea bargain and capped his potential sentence at 25 years. Before the September plea, Barry could have faced life in prison if he went on to trial. The judge says Barry will likely face about 8 more years in prison because he has been incarcerated since 1999. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller, live from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Further information at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman Sports.
We've just been coming out here giving our full 100, and I feel like we are so ready.
He finished the rounds, but he was fighting for his life.
Very impressed with the skill level of the Caymanian players.
It is something that we all believe that we can do.
Dion Anglin and Radio Cayman bring you the biggest sports every day and the hottest action live.
The first ever American football match that's being played here in the Cayman Islands.
Team America White makes a touchdown.
That's the first reception of the game. Oh, that's a big play.
Tune in every evening in the 6 and 10 p.m. news update and log on to radiocayman.gov.ky for the latest local sports reports. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's hottest sports.
Hello everyone, this is Sterling Dwayne Banks. Our special show, See What I Say, will be heard this month on the 27th from 1 to 2:30 p.m.
Give me a little water now. You can't hear a coughing? All the merciful. Which one of you is going gallivanting this time?
Miss P, no, you know that gotta be me. Ray got his break the last time, now it's my turn.
No. Miss P, you don't need no water. See, I got a little leaf for life tea here for you. Happy with that cough?
No wonder I found leaves missing from the tree in my backyard. Pick us up. If you come to my yard again, I'm going to have you arrested. Thou shalt not steal Miss P leaf of life.
Hold on. Make sure you don't miss to See What I was saying on Friday the 27th. It's a unique, informative, audience participation lighthearted show with lots of Cayman jokes and culture and guests as we talk about things we say and do. Our next topic will be bush medicines and old-time remedies.
The Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman to talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers. Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-6990. Thanks again to Ms. Brenda Archer and Dr. Miguel as we talk about brain tumors and the work of the Brain Tumor Foundation, intent to educate and inform people and help them to be empowered to take ownership. And I think perhaps as we've come to understand in the discussions with Ms. Brenda and from the reading the literature, even though someone may have necessarily been diagnosed and we were thankful that it's a benign tumor, it does not necessarily mean that the surgery isn't without risk. The person's life, as it were, isn't necessarily potentially changed as a result of the brain tumor, and potentially where the brain tumor is within the house in the brain. Thank you, Ms. Brenda. And it is, possible, that the life after surgery can mean a significant change. So, as Ms. Brenda shared, let's be very, very respectful and appreciative and supportive and try as best as we can to recognize that there are many in our society whom we can easily and quite willingly reach out to ensure that we have this opportunity to help them along. It is a Friday afternoon, and it is indeed an opportunity for some open line. Invite you to call us 1-800-534-8255 or 949-6990. Likewise, you can call 949-8037, or you may choose to email your thoughts to us. Email talktoday@candw.ky. I had a number of individuals, and one in particular this morning, who called, chatted a bit, we shared as I listened, and he said, it would seem that the workplace in general seems to be an environment of much hostility, creating a tremendous amount of stress on workers and possibly on customers and other users, whether they're employees, customers, suppliers, or others who engage with the business. And the sentiment expressed was twofold. One, to what extent are we cognizant of the impact, the negative consequence that the stress may be having on the lives of others, on their health, the quality of life, the enjoyment. But secondly, on the safety and security of that workplace. And the person referenced recently. The fact that for perhaps political reasons or other, we were so willing as a public and as a media to portray the exchange, I think that was the word that I recall the person shared, between the Minister of Health, the then Minister of Health, Mr. Borden, and his Chief Officer, Ms. Ahern. But yet, understanding that a similar exchange took place between Chief Officer Alan Jones and his deputy, Mr. Tristan Hydes, and yet very little has come of it. And the individual shared that, is this something that we need to pay attention to from two perspectives? One, what is happening in our working environments, the stresses that are causing people to act that way? And two, if it's something that is a relative new occurrence, then we need to address it. But if it's something that has been ongoing in the past, why was it ignored? And why is, if in fact, as alleged, it was ignored, to what extent now is that manifesting itself in such a way that it's creating this toxic environment? But the emphasis initially being on the notion that this second exchange between two similar civil servants, as opposed to an appointed individual and an elected individual, has not received the same level of notoriety or publicity or even public commentary. And there were a few inferences as potential reasons as to why this may have been. Two males in one instance, one individual being political and the others not. But what is causing it? And the final thing that was shared was that what in any apology would excuse when a person shares, I'm sorry for doing this, but you really caused me, you irritated me, or I'm sorry, but it was just a lot of pressure from work. The sentiment being that that's really a non-apology. But more importantly, what are we doing to ensure that this occurrence isn't frequent? And when it does happen, are those who are concerned for bringing it about properly sanctioned? Your thoughts? 1-800-534-8255 or 949-6990. 949-6990. And then the third thing that was shared was, where and when, will the public be properly informed of all these things as they go on. Now, the other sentiment that the caller had shared with us that we bring to your attention is this notion with respect to what the government of the day will do with respect to continued development and providing incentives or motivations or accommodations to ensure that we have development that potentially could lead to ongoing employment and the like. And the fear being, as expressed by that particular individual, was one, will a government of the day do so much that ties and binds the hands of the government of future generations, and in so doing will we have created so much development and so much developable areas that we're not able to have anything that is sustainable and healthy. And then the other concern is, to what extent will that development impact the currency of the people from the perspective of what impact will it have on the lives of the individuals, so that their enjoyment isn't as much as it could be, or their reward and returns are somewhat hampered because perhaps the competitive nature of the landscape has changed, or there's been such a favor given to one that it precludes others from likewise being profitable. To the first point, the individual pointed out that when we look at the proposals now with respect to the West Bay Road, we're seeing potentially a few things that are going to happen. One, we know that the portion of the West Bay Road has been closed, and those who don't necessarily agree with that will have little recourse. This is how it's going to be, and that is that. Secondly, there's a new proposal now to build what will amount to be almost a 40-foot elevation that will connect the Cayman Bay side of the development to its seaside hotel development, allowing pedestrians to move much more easily, perhaps, and some would say maybe safely, across one to the next. But in the process, it changes the way people drive and move that are not within the Cayman Bay development. So you'll be entering a space where, it's some 40 feet above you. There is this overpass. Does that create a tunnel-like effect? And what does that do to impact the surrounding landscape and environment? We'll pause and take a break as you pen your thoughts on that. Send them to us. We'll join you right after the break. Stay tuned.
Did you know the Cayman Islands financial services industry, including banks, law firms, insurance companies, and accounting firms, is the single biggest contributor to our economy?
Financial services, moving Cayman forward. For more information, visit caymanfinance.ky.
Yellow is the new green. Join Cayman Islands Yellow Pages' Yellow to Green Recycling Program and help keep our island beautiful. From Monday, January 26th through Friday, February 20th, you can drop off your old dry directories at Foster's Food Fair, Hurley's, Kirk Market, and Camana Bay. You've helped us collect over 100,000 directories. That's 100,000 that will not end up in the local landfill. Let's make this year an even greater success. Visit CaymanYP.com/recycle today for more details. Cayman Islands Yellow Pages. Find more, do more.
This is The Conversation.
A brand new feature from Radio Cayman News. Shonda Gallego goes behind the scenes with Cayman's newsmakers, artists, and emerging talent to get their unique and personal experience, their real story. Join in on The Conversation. Sundays at noon, 6:10 p.m. and 10:10 p.m.
The Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Radio Cayman to talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers. Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back to Talk Today. 1-800-534-TALK or 949-6990. We go to the phones. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today. Hi, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
All right, how you doing?
Very thankful indeed. Yourself?
Okay. As usual, I won't keep you long, but I guess you said what you want to know the thoughts of people today.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Good. I'm just concerned that when they have a summary news from Radio Cayman, what happened like over the last week or so on. Someone said to me, I think it was yesterday, so did someone get shot in West Bay again last night? I said, not as I know about. So, well, I heard on the radio Cayman that somebody got shot in, last night and they arrested 22-year-old or something like that. I said, no. Well, when I realized, that's the summary, they repeat this thing. And I'm concerned that, that is not necessary to have that kind of thing repeated on the air. If it's publicity they want or popularity, I don't think that's the right way to go. Maybe if they try to put something positive sometime on the news, it might go down a little better. I don't think that's necessary to be continuing to publicize this thing. And if someone hears it and not aware what's the trend, you think every night somebody shot in West Bay.
But this is perhaps where sometimes, the populace, maybe fueled sometimes by the media, can either deliberately and maliciously or just unfortunately and improperly, tarnish the image of a country or society or people without full understanding the impact that it's having on the psyche. But as some have shared, maybe then they fully understand that, and that is the intent.
I would say whoever, decide that they're going to go this route should be more responsible for their actions, because I don't think that's necessary. Everybody know what happened, and it's been on the air right, left, and center for some time. And I don't think it's something that you need to continue. So I take issues with that, and I hope whoever puts these packages together, next time they will consider what they're putting in it for the benefit of not just West Bay, for the general public of the island, instead of trying to, in my version, get popularity about Radio Cayman. Sure, I listen to Radio Cayman, but they need to take note of what they put for the public to listen to. So that's my little piece. I'm not going to stay all day, so I hope you have a pleasant afternoon, sir.
Indeed, sir. Indeed, certainly appreciate it. And there are, interesting times. One more call on line, Mr. Fox? Nope. Well, there's a few minutes left, and we will certainly take your calls if you so choose to share your sentiments with us. And to the caller's point, there are times we have to ask ourselves, when we're advertising, otherwise promoting or trying to get the attention, of our customers, how are we going about it, and what is it that we're doing in order to do so that causes the wider public to think not only about the business but how its message may negatively affect the lives of others. There are many who have over the years come to understand that in some locations the media in general, and perhaps certain publications, certain media in particular, may very openly and actively embrace the notion that, if it bleeds, it leads, as some from the journalist community would share with you, meaning that the more sensational and horrific something is that can grab the attention of people, that's what they want. Because at the end of the day, it's about trying to not just attract a bigger and bigger audience, but to keep them so that you become perhaps seen as being more successful in that competitive, cutthroat environment that is the media. 949-6990. We go to the phones. Welcome, you're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Afternoon, Mom. How are you?
I had a little fire a while ago. You know what it calls a fire, right?
You did?
Because I have to be up so early. So my teens get me up early, you see.
Yes, Mom.
But listen to me now. Remember on Wednesday when I made that plea for government to help Mr. Raymond Scott?
Yes, Mom.
I really meant the legislative government. But there's so much of us out here as voters that know that we are the government. And I really want to thank those two gentlemen that called right in and gave their support of helping him out with getting his tower staircase, was it?
Yes, Mom.
Get that replaced there. And now I'm putting out another plea. Please, Cayman Island, all the honor that can help. Please help Mr. Raymond Scott. Join those two gentlemen. One from West Bay, and I think Mr. Solomon was from Bordentown.
Yes, Mom.
Those two, please, some more need to join and help Mr. Raymond Scott to get that done. But this not saying that government, the legislative government, must not consider. This should make them consider even more to put Mr. Raymond Scott on a salary for all the good things that he has been doing all these years. Right?
Well, it is. I think you shared a service that may have been initiated by his interest. I wouldn't want to say hobby,
Yes.
but as you shared, there are many who, because of his promotion and publication, have come to see him as somewhat of an authority, with at least someone with access to be able to reach out to passing ships to convey and relay information that has proven
Sterling?
valuable. Yes, ma'am.
I had to call Susan right after. The first gentleman from West Bay that called. I said, Susan, my plea was a miracle. My second call for Wednesday was a miracle call. So it was right away, you know.
Right.
Got two that's going to assist him, Mr. Raymond Scott.
Well, this is it. I think that sometimes we just need prompting, but we also need to be reminded.
I also told her, listen good to this now. I also told Susan, I said, Susan, I meant to do that for quite some time. But I said this as is said, things will happen before time. So I guess that was really the right time on Wednesday. And I appreciate that Mr. Raymond Scott said, that great lady that called, you understand what I'm saying? I need somebody to call my lady.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I think men would consider you.
Pardon?
Go ahead. Listen to you.
What you say?
I said men would consider you not only to be a leader, but certainly, understanding that you're certainly respected.
Many more calls me lady, you know.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I mean, this Mr. Raymond Scott, he got on the radio and called me a great lady. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he don't know me.
No, but it just shows his respectfulness, and he's obviously.
And all I know, Mr. Raymond, is whenever I see a photo of him or hear his voice, you know.
But it
anyway,
really.
Pardon?
No, so it really helps to keep us connected. Yes.
Yeah. And you know something, Sterling? I want to say this to Letitia too. About this state, I have said so much about health that I'm so proud to know that the premier in his other state what you call it, message or whatever he had on yesterday. That kind of whatever he was, whatever that was, I can't remember before the words really go together now. He did mention health. But you know what health he mentioned? Health City. And been taking so much, the PPM has been taking so much praise for that Health City. And they were the ones that were so much against it. You understand what I'm saying, Sterling? People do remember all these things, you know. And then again, the honorable leader of the opposition was on this morning, called in on OC show this morning, and he put things straight. All these things. Cause look, I went through a plastic container of newspapers that I have been saving, and I only took out the parts that I wanted to save. And when it can be said about when it was said that what came on?
Yes, ma'am.
The Haven. What came on Haven? Sterling?
Yes, which was that?
What is it? Is it Cayman Haven or what Haven is not for sale? That is considered
the safe haven. Safe haven.
Safe haven. All that was in place. But they never gave. They were against so much stuff. They was against dark so much, and all the this and all that, and now dark getting all the praises from them now. Anyway, that besides the point. There is people that, I always say it this way, people that have the short memories, but now I'm starting to say convenient memory. There's so many that really have a convenient memory that they use it for their convenience. You understand what I'm saying, Sterling? There's a lot of people out there that understand what I'm saying, you know. Right. Sterling, when I get on the phone, on the two talk shows, I only listen to Radio Cayman. And I'll tell that to everybody. Who don't know my voice, who don't know me, but know the voice, know so.
Indeed, yes.
I just lost my trail a little bit there. But that because I was thinking about something else.
Well, that's fine. But always appreciate, when you have to share. And certainly I think, I certainly think that as you mentioned what's of importance to
Pardon?
you. I say, as you mentioned, are you unable to hear me, or can you hear me okay?
Not so good.
Yeah, I'm challenged with it as well. So I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those
I
Friday
guess
illness.
it is a day then.
Yeah. Well, you have a good afternoon, Mom.
And you too.
All right. Enjoy your weekend as well.
And you too. And I have still have more to say, But I get on a little bit whenever I think it's the right time to get on and say things. You understand?
Indeed.
Thank you very much,
You're most welcome, Mom. Take care. God bless. Thanks so much to that caller. We can take one more. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you again, Dwayne.
And to you as well, sir.
Yes, I just like to say my friend, his lady's perfectly right. Mr. Raymond Scott, my friend here, I'm acquainted with him. Well acquainted with him. His service has been invaluable to us here at Caymanians and to others because he has had to save lives. And it's very important, and I've often wondered why he isn't paid something by the government, some kind of a stipend. I believe he might be something, I'm not so sure. But again, the unfortunate incidents of him lost his license, and there could have been discretion showed quite easily as he's a sole breadwinner for his little family. And is dependent on his license as a heavy equipment operator. So maybe there can be some... I don't know why some discretion wasn't shown when he complied within 2 days, the insurance thing as he stated. I just don't know. Sometimes discretion is shown the wrong way onto others, just us, not justice. But I think that they should, I hope people will be willing to, try to assist in some way to see that maybe that decision, it can be overturned. I'm pretty sure of that. And into this man, an upright citizen, not that someone who is prone to, traffic violations and something like that at all. If anyone who knows him knows that. So I imagine that something could be done. But yes, his services are definitely of great importance to the public, and he has long been waiting for that antenna to be, replaced and repaired. Thank you very much, Wayne. I just thought I'd put that in. Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir. Thank you again, and certainly appreciate, you guys spending your lunch times with us as we invite you to do so again. For more Talk Today, immediately following Midday News and Midday Meditation, where Monday's program will first start out with a focus on mental health, as we share our mental health matters under the wonderful partnership with Dr. Alexandria Borden. So that'll be your first discussion on Monday, a program that unfolds the second Monday of each month as we really are trying to bring attention to the issue of mental health. And mental health, as they say, there can be no health without mental health. It affects all of us, our well-being, physical, spiritual, emotional, financial. Our mental health indeed matters. Have a wonderful, enjoyable weekend. Be safe. You're out and about and being, your usual selves. Well, live to tell the tale. Be very responsible and respectful in your actions. You can start out Monday morning with an OC for the record, and then you can continue listening to us for some music and the news, and then after the midday news and weather and meditation, join us again for Talk Today. Until then, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today brought